ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is Rifkin and Penguin bringing you another broadcast here on BaseTradeTV with what is, as always, excellent players. And Penguin, who do we have spawning?
Well, Rifkin, in the bottom left spawn location, we have none other than the Red Devil Terran. He is EGDemuslim Lady Call. And you can go there at Demuslim very simply. Do go follow him. He's a pretty awesome guy. He's been doing a lot for the community lately, including casting WCS, doing a bit of a audio-only cast. So that's definitely cool. Definitely check that out.
And his opponent in the lower right, he's blue. He's playing for himself. It is State. And this is his Twitter, but guys, I'm going to put this on the screen. You got to see it. State has one of the funniest looking Twitter profile pages I ever did see. Just glorifying himself as the great leader he is in the Protoss race.
I really hope he finds a team soon. I definitely hope he can find a team soon because he's a great player. He used to be on Quantic, of course, and, well, it's always sad to see such a good player without a team.
Well, one thing I want to comment on, talk State up here for a moment as well, but Demuslim, I feel, has been such a big part of the StarCraft community as of late, more so than ever. I mean, you can ignore the fact for a moment that he's got a massive viewership lately. His stream has been doing with great success. But I feel so much points of contention, the center of attention, the pinnacle of attention has been him involved with WCS. No matter what happens, whether it's not inviting him, whether it's the qualifying league, whether it's most recently the whole weird disqualification of Mia / him getting reinstated while him and Moose Skills are like, in the middle of their best of 3. Regardless of what happens, Demuslim just seems to be more attached to WCS whether he wants to be or not.
Yeah, it's pretty much just about right, Rifkin. And we do actually see Demuslim going for a CC first here, so, well, he's feeling ballsy today.
Yeah, cards on the table, guys. Penguin and I have not seen this replay in full. We did get about, 6 minutes in, though, so we do have these spoilers before we restarted. So you might not hear a lot of enthusiasm for the first 6 minutes, but after that, oh boy, after that, it's gonna get exciting.
After that, Rifkin. So much after that.
It's like pressing the red button in the Men in Black car. You're just gonna take the hell off.
I haven't seen that movie.
You haven't seen Men in Black? Are you kidding me?
No.
Why are we even friends, much less casting? I don't... Penguin! Oh my gosh. Highly recommend you do check those movies out.
Have you been watching Switzerland's hockey games in the Hockey World Cup?
I'm Canadian. I should say yes.
You should say yes because Switzerland beat Canada.
I know.
Suck it. Suck it.
I knew. But okay, one thing I want to point out here, State's already scouting around his own base looking for any sort of shenanigans that could come up. I mean, right now, such a classic opening in the TVP matchup is the fact that, who doesn't open with a Reaper? That's scouting information invaluable. Some players even go as far as actually using Reapers as part of their main army composition in the early game. But State, the thing he's looking for here isn't proxy racks, it isn't anything funky, it's just a bunker, making sure that this SCV hasn't placed something down that could bite him in the ass in the next 2 minutes.
The other big thing is that the reason that he got that Zealot out, a lot of players are not getting that Zealot out recently because they'll start the Zealot and then cancel it, but that was pretty nice. But what we'll see a lot of Terrans do is they'll go for the Engineering Bay block. And, well, he's also preventing that from happening. We do see Demuslim, even though he opened up very greedy going Command Center first here, he is following it up with 3 racks. So he is going to be pretty defensive. He's going to be able to get quite a few units on the field here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunker at the front. Regardless of whether the Mothership Corps comes in from the front with the army or just decides to fly over the airspace, I mean, Demuslim's got more than enough on the field to deal with this. I think the number, what is it, you need 3 Marines to deal with this? Or 4? It's funny, you just need this low number to really stave off the Mothership Corps. Despite the fact that it doesn't have a lot of damage, it's still pretty deadly.
Yeah, the big thing, of course, is that the big thing about the Mothership Corps is that it doesn't have very many shields, and a lot of people seem to overlook this. But, even though it'll survive a long time because it has, 190 total health, only 60 of those are shields. So if you deal some actual damage to it, which doesn't look like the Muslim's going to do, but if you deal some actual damage to it, that's going to stay there, and it loses a lot of health.
Oh, definitely. And looks like the Muslim has saved off this attack for the time being. Gonna send State back home. It's only a poke, though, so it's not like a big investment. Not like you went for a 4-gate all-in and was like, nope, never mind, GLHF. I'm really curious what State's late game is going to be for this, though. I feel right now the Terran vs Protoss matchup, so much of this comes down to combination of Templar control and actual army position for a Protoss player, because they got to keep up with the drops. Lately, I saw some players like Max Shed, for example, they've incorporated the usage of 3 Phoenixes into their army regardless of composition, TVP. And I love that this happens because those Phoenixes play the same role that Mutalisks do in TVZ, where you're just trying to catch the medevacs with them. You're not trying to use them for super harassing, you're not trying to attack the army with them head on, you're just using them to help defend against medevac drops. I would love to see if State does that.
Sorry about that. We actually saw Hello Kitty yesterday in WCS NA. Spoilers, if you didn't watch that yet and you want to, pause right now. But Hello Kitty went for he went for a macro style with Colossus Phoenix, and he just did exactly what you were saying with picking up the medevacs. But he actually kept building Phoenixes and used them to not only tank Viking shots, but to take out the Vikings very quickly as well.
Yeah, it's funny to consider
really
because
cool
the Phoenixes, they only have that bonus damage versus light, but regardless of whether it's light or not, they attack really fast, they do 2 attacks at once, and they will deal with Vikings. Not the most effectively, but Vikings, you gotta keep in mind, also don't get their bonus damage versus a Phoenix, as they are light units.
The other thing is that, like, it doesn't even, like, their goal isn't to kill the Vikings, their goal is to let the Colossus stay alive longer. Because as long as the Colossi can get off 1 or 2 extra volleys, that is deadly.
The other thing, too, is, like, I've seen some players in the past pick off Ghosts with that Graviton Beam, man. It is sick watching that level of micro happen.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah, I mean, right now, what EGDemuslim's doing, going completely scouted. I mean, this Phoenix, the hallucination, he knows there's a starport. He knows that there's 3 racks on the field. I mean, there's not going to be that push until EGDemuslim has medevacs on the field, so State can just kind of, as we see, have a low army count, because he doesn't need to maintain too much. The Photon Overcharge from a Nexus will delay, or actually mostly deny, a lot of early bio hits.
I think what we're probably going to see here is we're probably going to be seeing a +1 timing from EGDemuslim with 2 medevacs. He's going to be going for a 2 medevac push. He's going to have stim, he's going to have combat shields, he's going to have +1, and he is going to take a threat behind this. So the one thing he's sacrificing here is upgrades. He's getting +1, but if you're playing really, really greedy, you want to be getting double upgrades right now. You want to be getting as many upgrades as you possibly can. But State, he's also going very, very unit heavy. Not yet, but he's about to finish up gateways 4 through 7. So
yeah, the big thing here too.
Got a ton of units.
The big thing here that's really important too is State, look at these stalkers, look at the position of these pylons, like he's ready for any sort of drop play coming over the middle of the map because, well, it's so typically going to happen against a Protoss player. But EGDemuslim is pushing out, and State, will he keep the Observer? Yeah, EGDemuslim will not snipe that off just yet, at least, but man, it's good to see. Well, it's good and bad to see, like, oh, look at that army, and then it's like, oh, right, that's an army.
Yeah. And we'll see if State can deal with this. This is going to be the 2 medevac push. +1 has just finished, Combat Shields is done, Stim is done, Concussor Shells is done, every single upgrade for this bio, every single unit upgrade is done. What is there to hold this? He's got a good number of Stalkers. The big thing right now is he's trying to get that Colossus out desperately, but it will not have range, Rifkin.
Yeah, but you know what? Between the 3 Sentries and the Photon Overcharge, I really feel this is not that big of a threat to State. Not yet, at least. There's not enough here to really... You can't lift the army up. The medevacs will get picked off by these Stalkers. The positioning here is great. State actually... Oh, is EGDemuslim gonna... Ah, darn. For a second I thought he was gonna do something like... awkward proxy Widow Mines or something.
Yep. I was hoping, man, but yeah, he looks like he doesn't. EGDemuslim doesn't really want to engage in here. This is not like an all-in push or anything at all. This is just a, I have a bunch of units. If you don't have a bunch of units, I'm going to kill you. That's the sort of mindset behind what EGDemuslim is doing here. And he saw that there was a Colossus pretty much done. He saw that there was a Photon Overcharge, actually enough energy for a Photon Overcharge and a Time Warp, which can be very devastating to bio with that Colossus in the back.
I love
so
what State's done here, though. I need to point this out, Penguin. He's put pylons all over the map on his side of the map. He's not trying to be offensive with these. He just wants to be able to flank EGDemuslim from behind if it comes down to that. And Zealots with Charge are absolutely good at shredding Marauders and Marines.
These are really, really good multi-purpose pylons because they give you the supply. Obviously, like you were saying, they allow him to flank. They also allow him to
hold
spot
the phone. You're telling me pylons give supply?
Oh man, I'm sorry. That might have been a spoiler.
No, I'm sorry.
No, here we go. A big stim coming on in here. Range for the Colossi are
decent
done.
force fields. Gets a good chunk of that army for free.
The big thing here, the big problem for State, is that he is so far behind in upgrades. His 1-1 is going to be done around the same time that EGDemuslim has 2-1 with +2 halfway done, +2 armor halfway done.
Oh man, but 3 more gates with the Templar Archives on the way here, Penguin. Trying to make sure that he will be able to maintain and defend this 3rd base location. Once Templar get on the field, whether it's Storms or whether it's Archons, neither are happy units for a Terran player to deal with.
I would actually really, really love for State to go back into Colossi production after killing off that factory. The reason being that that factory means that EGDemuslim cannot put down a second starport. he will be stuck to only producing 2 Vikings at a time, and I would love to see him take advantage of that by continuing Colossus production, but it doesn't look like he's going to.
You know, that's a really good point. I've never considered that when casting, where it's like, you know, so often Terran players sacrifice that. DeMuslim did get a second starport down, but still, if he didn't, that's actually a really good thing to consider, because, yeah, so many Terrans, they sacrificed that factory for the scouting, and if he didn't have that second starport, quite frankly, he'd be dead in the water to Colossus production.
Yeah, especially if he threw down a second Robo.
No, but man, I want to see that. I want to see that happen now in a game.
One day, man.
Okay, State has got, let's see, how many gates on the field? Currently 10 warp gates, 2 more, so 12 gates total. And Muslim's pushing it. You know, 12 gates of reinforcements, Penguin. Even if that's just Zealots, I mean, the economy's not there for it. That's still a lot of reinforcements for a bio-army to contend with.
Yeah, generally against this kind of a composition, it will be Zealots. But he's got to be careful with these Stalkers. Yeah, he does blink back just in time. Trying to get a little bit of free damage done. Not really working all that well, but not really losing anything either, so not a big deal. Storm is nearing completion, and that's going to be big.
Yeah, if State can get, you know, that, oh man, some force fields, get like a flower of force fields, just trap that army there and get a couple storms in, that would be absolutely sick. But he's got the Colossus, he's got a hell of a lot of Zealots, and the army composition is not looking too shabby. He's just got to worry about these Vikings picking off his Colossus.
He's got to be careful with these Stalkers. One of them goes down very, very quickly. He's trying to pick off Vikings, actually doing a really good job.
Oh, but beautiful steps, and Time Warp! Time Warp right on top of those storms is insanely good. Zealots charging in to try and finish up what they can, but the Colossus are so in danger to these Vikings. But the Grand Force of the Muslims are being cleaned up by most of the Zealots. Look at that, warping and charging in immediately. And this is looking really good for State.
That was not as terrible a trade as it could have been for the Muslim. But if he loses these medevacs,
ooh, nice blink.
This is going to be terrible. And immediately continuing Colossus production again, and this is genius because he's down to 2 medevacs. Is he going to produce Vikings? Is he going to produce medevacs? He has to choose. He needs both, but he has to choose.
Oh man, that's kind of one of those gun to your head moments. Like, which evil twin do you shoot?
Okay then.
Well, no, I mean the reality is, like, it doesn't matter which you go for. It's gonna suck not having the other. He's got the double production from the starports, but still, even 2 and 2 split, you really want to be. You want to be producing 4 Vikings at a time to, you know, start one-shotting those Colossus with the volleys.
The problem is that well, it's not really a problem, but the sad part for State is that the Mothership Core went down, and I would really like to see him produce another one right away because you want to be getting that energy up. As we saw in that last engagement, double Time Warps plus Storm.
Well, that was sick.
That was painful. He's not going to have that opportunity.
Well, another thing too to consider is State's been really Zealot heavy. He's warping in some more Stalkers now, but he's going to lose these ones on the front lines. And if he doesn't have these Stalkers to shoot the Vikings, the Colossus will just fall.
Yeah, another Stalker does go down here, but he does have a good number of Stalkers. I think he has enough. Between 10 and 15 is generally a reasonable number to have.
Oh, absolutely, but you got to consider, if the Muslims overproducing Vikings, you'll 4 at a time if that's going to be the case. It doesn't matter how many Stalkers you have if the Colossus are still getting one shot.
That's true. I would actually, I expect him to probably not go above 3 Colossi again. He is getting Gravatic Drive now. That's pretty cool.
To me, that's just some special tactics are going to be on the way. I know it's not White Rod, but still. Nice blink from Micro out of State. Actually doesn't lose a Stalker to that poke.
Yeah,
does
not
pick
bad
up
at
a
all.
Marauder.
Does pick up a Marauder.
Yes, the little things that count. It sounds so silly and cliche to say that, but it's absolutely true.
Yeah, I mean, like, picking off one Marauder at some point in the game isn't going to win you the game, but picking off one Marauder and then another Marauder and then another Marauder and then all of a sudden he goes for the engagement and he's like 15 units short, that does add up.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing too, like, if suddenly, you know, you've got 8 medevacs but no army for them to heal, what good are those medevacs? But it looks like State, he's going to keep expanding.
Speaking of medevacs not being useful, it's totally random quote not to do with medevacs at all, but if a mule drops in the forest and there's nobody to hear it, did it ever mine? Or did it ever live?
Well, I don't know. When it dies, you can check the mineral count, Penguin, on the resources. Empirical evidence.
Go die.
But okay, one thing I want to point out is State is on 4 bases, the Muslim is on 5 bases, and either way, this is starting to get to that split map situation where State is, I don't know, I feel a Protoss player, as long as they're on even bases, is always going to have a quote-unquote advantage just because of how strong a Protoss army is.
No, especially going into this like mega
God, there's so many Vikings.
Oh, he's got to be careful. He's losing a lot of Stalkers here for free.
He's trying to pick out those Vikings. There were 10. Now there's 8. It's always good. I feel if you can pick off those Vikings before the Colossus have to worry about them, it's worth trading. But State spreading for an engagement that's not going to happen in the way I think he wants it to. Penguin
could get some great storms off, but he's not going to go for them.
And he got sniped too by the ghosts. And that's the scary thing. Now the ghosts are on the field. Suddenly you have to worry about your energy. You have to worry about your shields. Archons are in a lot of danger to a lot of EMPs.
He does have a time warp, so EGDemuslim has to be a little more careful. He is going to be poking back a little bit. But State's also up to 16 gateways. He hasn't morphed 4 of them yet, but he's going to be up to 16 warp gates. And that's going to mean massive reinforcements for him. He's trying to poke forward a little bit. Gotta be careful, loses another High Templar.
And these are hard things to lose, but I love the Zealot Warp in here at the third base. He's going to just pick off a couple of SCVs. I mean, it's only going to get about maybe 4 or 5 before it gets killed, but still, it's just a threat that pulled EGDemuslim back to kill it. Now he's going to be looking for that pylon, or the Warp Prism rather.
Worker kills are worker kills. That's always nice to have. I mean, it's not that big a deal at this point of the game, but it is something.
I would like to comment too, I love the way State has been handling his Stalkers. I know it's kind of like, oh, he's giving them away for free, but he's picking off critical units with them and blinking back with the majority of them. Yeah, look at that. Poking in and running, poking in and running. His shields, of course, a lot easier to regen than health. But a Dark Shrine Penguin. Oh, I love this. There's so many Morbidals on the field, though. I feel that the stealth factor isn't going to be that big of a deal.
Yeah, he's just got... I mean, we've already seen this from EGDemuslim. He's just scanning everywhere. Like, he wants to move forward, he scans 4 places just to make sure he doesn't walk into anything. So, yeah. I'm worried about how well this is going to do, but at the same time, EGDemuslim has been so liberal with his scanning that he may actually run out of them at some point. I mean, it's not likely, but it could happen.
The one thing, too, is it's this pylon at the top left corner of the map. It's so scary. If a couple Dark Templar warp in, he's not going to need to go for the SCV kills if he just focuses down something, but... Nice storm on this army. Look how low that got everything. A couple kills picked off as well. Does lose the Templar, sadly, but EGDemuslim's starting to sacrifice SCVs for army supply, and that's kind of a scary thing for State to have to realize.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like State, oh my, he's going up against such high numbers of ghosts. I mean, he's producing 7 ghosts at a time now, and there's a fusion core in the way as well. This is going to be really cool. I don't actually like this at all.
Penguin, this is really scary. There's only 2 observers on the field. If EGDemuslim snipes them, those ghosts are going to just run train on the entire army of State.
Yes, they do have cloak. But the one thing I'm really interested to see what EGDemuslim, I mean, how EGDemuslim makes this work. Because he's going Fusion Core. State doesn't have a Stargate yet. But he can go for Tempests. It'll take a while to get them out, but he can go for Tempests.
I really think that Fusion Core is like just to open the tech pathway of possibility and not realize like 30 minutes in, like, oh, I forgot to build this building that I wanted earlier.
But he doesn't, but like, yeah, I mean, we saw Flash go over this when he was really far ahead against Parting and GSL, and it just fell flat on its face.
I really don't feel we're going to see Battlecruiser production anytime soon. I mean, the factory's rebuilding so we can get more starports on the field, but for the time being, EGDemuslim doesn't have, he can't afford to think about that right now. This ever-encroaching army of State has just been slow pushing its way across the field, and looks like we're going to have that engaged, Penguin.
Indeed, those are great EMPs going down. Great storms and time warps as well. The big problem here is that State's losing a lot, but he has a much bigger bank. He can reinforce on stuff much, much quicker. We have 17, 18 Zealots being warped in right now. 2 more Colossi in production. And overall...
The Vikings were such a problem for State. Like I said, there's just so many of them. Colossus fell so quickly.
Yeah, I'd kind of like for him to just go more storm heavy here, but there's just so many ghosts.
Zealots.
But here come the Zealots, and another massive warp, and it is cancelled though.
But the EMP missed most of the Zealots, so they are getting in here doing a ton more damage than they probably should have with the amount of ghosts currently on the field. Second warping of Zealots coming in behind the smoke, so EGDemuslim does not see this. Will he just... Looks like he's actually going to go for the base hit. But there's a planetary there, Penguin. I mean,
Zealots... 17 Zealots with 313. This is going to be hard to hold.
And the thing, too, is with these starports coming in, he's going to scout this. He's going to know that that tech swap is coming.
Yeah, he's going to know this 100%. What is he going to go for? Is he going to go for the... I like that he's going for the starports. The only one was... only 2 were cancelled, so he did lose quite a few resources there.
But EGDemuslim pushing across the field.
Forcing him back. Holy crap! He just warped an 18 High Templar to make into Archons.
The problem is that bank that was there isn't there anymore. The Colossus have fallen. This base needs to be forfeit because he needs to hold on to this. But you're right. Look at the top left corner of the map. That's so much blue ball. Blue balls of death.
Blue balls of death for the blue Protoss player. And, well, we'll see if he can actually deal with his army.
State, there's so many ghosts here. These Archons are so susceptible to EMPs. The army that State currently has, it's not going to fare well against this many ghosts with almost all full energy, Penguin. 15 ghosts. That's so many EMPs. I do like that he's
out of the engagement, I feel.
He's setting up for a sandwich. He's going to try and hit both ends.
And it's going to work. The cloak goes down. Is there an observer over here?
There is.
Yeah, there is. He is pushing forward here. The EMPs do go down.
The Archons get cleaned up. Like I said, it's so dangerous to have that many Archons against a ghost composition like this. More Zealots are warping in, but the cancel on the pylon does deny them. And Penguin, this is really not looking good for State. The Muslim with this, quite frankly, I don't know, mismatched ragtag of Vikings, Ghosts, Marines, Marauders, and Medevacs. Just gonna push in.
He has just what he needs, and this is looking very difficult for State to hold. He still has a good number of bases. He's not out of this just yet, but his bank is gone. He needs to warp in. He needs to go Archons because he just doesn't have the minerals. He has to go Archons. Actually, that could work pretty well against these Ghosts since they are pretty much all out of energy.
But there's that clock. As soon as they regen energy for EMPs, that's it. We now have battlecruiser production started. Most of these targets were not picked off. So I mean, EGDemuslim is just looking to be in such a strong position right now. But State, he's still mining off these bases. He's not out of the game yet by any means.
Indeed.
Resources lost pretty massive as well for both players. I mean, this is definitely going a little bit better for EGDemuslim, I have to say. But State holding his own very nicely.
Been doing reasonably well here, but the big thing here is that he's lost the base, he's lost a lot of stuff, and most importantly, he's lost a lot of his income. He's got workers, he's got all this stuff, but he's down to 51 workers. He doesn't really have the income to transition into Tempest, which is why this battlecruiser switch may well just work.
Yeah, and EGDemuslim has been slowly but surely upgrading these battlecruisers behind this. So I mean, these battlecruisers are going to pop out fully upgraded, Penguin. Well, not fully, +2 armor on the way, but still, they're going to be looking really damn good. And the funny thing is, like, you know, you could try and feedback a battlecruiser, you try to storm a battlecruiser, whatever you do to them, they are air behemoths. They have so much health. I don't feel that what State has is going to hold up to this.
Yeah, I mean, the supply difference just really says it all at this point.
You know, that the lack of, I mean, battlecruisers not being bio, even the Archons are not going to do that much damage to them.
Yeah, he's even going Behemoth Reactor.
Wow, that's not something you see too often. Kind of
Not
bold
really.
too when he knows that like feedbacks are a bit of a threat.
That's actually a good point. I'm not sure I agree with that.
Well, I guess, you know, if you go for the instant Yamato before feedback comes, you know, you're only gonna get feedbacks for like 10 energy. Not that big of a deal.
Yeah, but you don't have enough. I mean, Behemoth Reactor doesn't really help that much for Yamato. I mean, you don't spawn with enough energy for Yamato.
No, but you know, you're gonna walk across this field with the slowest units in the game, pretty much. You will eventually.
Yeah, of course. Look at how many ghosts he has on the map. He has 26 ghosts.
This is such a sick composition. He's even got a nuke armed and ready. I'd love to see him drop this nuke on the Army of State.
Yeah, even just to position the nuke so he can just sort of zone stuff out. And I feel like, oh my god, he gets
nice
all the
feedbacks.
Snipes with the Templar. Good feedbacks going down. Actually, not the greatest engagement here for EGDemuslim.
Oh,
quite a bit of stuff.
The Storm actually gets most of the Ghosts. The Ghosts are being shredded now by the Colossus in the back. He's forced to retreat them for the time being, but the Vikings and the Battlecruisers still standing. I don't think this is looking too good for State. It's looking quite grim here, Penguin. GG.
Yeah, that was pretty fun to watch. Battlecruisers, when they work, look awesome.
It's hard to make them work, though.
Yeah, it's hard to make them work.
And the sad thing is, like, battlecruisers in multiplayer look nowhere near as cool as battlecruisers in single player. They don't have that same attack animation, and it really makes me sad.